Hello. Hello, this is Philip Cargom. I've just realised. Okay. So, nice to see you here. Do say if you're here. I'm working with a different layout that Facebook has kindly provided. So, do say if you're here and where you're from. It'll be lovely to see that you're present as well. And Ellie's arrived from Kent. Hooray! Thank you, Ellie. That simple message just means I'm not feeling like a prune sitting here on my own. Dean, Lisa, hi Lawrence, Cassandra. Fantastic. Okay, everybody's piling in. That's wonderful. So, what I think would be really helpful, we're living through such strange times. Just take a moment to check in with how you're feeling, and then do just type 2 words. Just 2 words that come to you of how you're feeling. Let's just do that for a moment, although there's a risk that not everybody's come into the circle yet, but there's quite a few. Wow, there's a lot. Yeah, hey. So, Tara, hello, you're the latest. So, yeah, just type in a couple of words that sum up how you're feeling, and that would be really interesting to hear. And there's a reason why I'm doing that, and I might repeat it again when there are more people in the circle. But I'm going to plough on because, as you probably know, a lot of people watch this after the live broadcast, and so what I did last week is Pete Corsten, this wonderful doctor on the front line up in Scotland, who's also a member of the Order, who came up with these 4 precepts, which are beautifully distilled and expressed, and I've decided to go through them one by one because, you know, I could just list them. We all get bombarded, I think, with, you know, great material on Facebook and WhatsApp and all the rest of it, and what tends to happen is you tend to read it and you say, oh yeah, that's good, I like that, yeah, that's great, and then you flick it on to your friends, and you kind of don't let, this is certainly what I do, and I don't let it sink in. I think, marvellous, I love that. And then I zip it out to friends, or pop it up on a blog post or whatever. So by working in this way, I think we can take one at a time and really deepen our experience of it. I'll post them all up because some people have asked for that in the thing. But let's have a look. We've got some comments coming in. A bit anxious. Peaceful solitude, pretty good. Great enjoy. Corona symptoms from Marie. Giorgio, I'm sorry. Scared and frozen. Stuck indoors. Blessed and worried. Just tired. Calm, ready. Anxious, content. Uptight, stressed out. Peaceful and grateful. Tired and hopeful. Compassionate, loving, peaceful and calm, achy back, relaxed and joyful, in love, lovely, feeling creative and hopeful, fluctuating, worried, distracted, proactive. This is fascinating. Tired but calm. Okay, so some people are expressing the opposites, as it were, and some people are expressing similar ideas. A whole range. It's fantastic. Uneasily peaceful. I like that, Scott. I sometimes feel like that. Do you find that feeling of feeling slightly guilty when you're feeling good? I find myself feeling good, and then you think, there's a sort of uneasiness in the air. There's an uneasiness when you turn on the television, or more than uneasiness, a distress. And so when you have a good feeling, you know, maybe there's that feeling of feeling slightly guilty. At peace with the situation and a little bit worried at the same time. Angelica, yeah. Thankful and supported. Wow. Yes, lovely. Lovely. Grateful and a bit frustrated. Okay. So let me read to you Peter's second landmark idea, and so he suggested 4 ways that we can relate. He calls them landmarks, which is rather nice, setting it in a sort of psychological, spiritual landscape. They're suggestions, I guess, as well. So second suggestion is accept this opportunity to become more at peace with the prospect of your own death. Learn to accept the small possibility that it might be sooner rather than later. Now, this is coming from a man who is a doctor, so doctors have to be tough. But knowing Peter, he's also a very loving soul, a very gentle, compassionate, loving soul, and that comes across to me in that. And let's just go in and analyze this here, because again, one can say, yeah, sure, yeah, I get that, but let's go deep. So see how Peter frames that: accept this opportunity. Oh, my notes to that is, I thought this was some awful possibility that was being presented to me every time I switch on the news. But instead, he's turning it around and saying, accept this opportunity. And of course, again, like with the first idea that we talked about last week, acceptance is this way of like judo, of turning the thing around so that you're not resisting it and creating all the suffering and tension and pain and difficulty that resistance brings. Instead, you're accepting it. Doesn't mean to say it's going to happen anytime soon, but just contemplating it in a spirit of openness and acceptance makes all the difference to resisting it. And then calling it an opportunity, the opportunity to become more at peace with the prospect of your own death, which again is such a positive way to frame it, because who wouldn't want to be more at peace with that prospect? You'd be crazy not to want to be at peace with that prospect, because however much you might reject or fight it, in the end, you know that's the way to relate to it. I've written here, you want to reject the possibility of your own death? Dream on, because of course we know it's inevitable. I saw Meet Joe Black last week. You know that film? It's quite old now. And I found it incredibly moving, probably because of the time we're in at the moment. I found it absolutely captivating, where death appears sort of incarnate in the person of this young man, who's the famous actor whose name has slipped my mind for the moment, and he confronts the other famous. Anthony Hopkins is the guy who's 65, who's confronted with death, and it's just, if you haven't seen it or you saw it a long time ago, have a look at it. It's pretty powerful and very moving, actually, I think. And then Peter adds in, so the first part of this idea, accept this opportunity to become more at peace with the prospect of your own death, is a piece of advice that one could give at any times in one's life. It's like saying, look, death is inevitable. You may as well be at peace with this rather than fighting it, because fighting the inevitable is useless and just takes up energy. But then Peter makes it specific to this particular time by saying, learn to accept the small possibility, so he's using the stats there, the small possibility that it might be sooner rather than later. So he puts it in context, making it soon the small possibility. And of course, the anxiety that triggers, this heightened awareness of our transience and our mortality, is all to do with the potential timing, because we all knew it was going to happen anyway, but it's this timing for ourselves and for people we love, that maybe we might lose that elderly parent. I have a 96-year-old mother, in a care home around the corner. And it's so near that I've been able to just walk up the road and see her every day ever since she got in there 2 years ago. But now I have the surreal and strange experience of walking up there and talking to her through the window. I stand in the garden and talk to my mum through the window. And on the one hand, it's horrible, but on the other hand, I also notice how quickly we adapt and how it becomes the new normal. It's just something I do. I just pop up the road. One of the care home workers opens the window up top. I'm not breathing into the care home because it's up there. And I chat to my mum. And that's just how it is. But let's just home in on this really difficult subject, and I want to do it sensitively, but in some ways there's no way that one cannot you're either direct or you're not, so I'm going to be direct, which is that the logical approach to this doesn't fully work, which is to say, look, you knew you were going to die anyway, and it just might happen a little bit sooner than you expected. Kind of doesn't work. Does work for some of us. Those of us who are very cerebral, I think, that kind of common sense approach can work. I knew a wonderful man called Sir George Trevelyan, who was the leader, the founder of the New Age movement in Britain, really. He had great long flowing white hair, and he was an actor, so he had this incredible actor's presence. And I remember hosting a talk he gave for the Esoteric Society in Caxton Hall, 40 years ago or something. And it was at the time the IRA were doing a lot of bombing in London. And I lived with our little son, Matthew, who was a tiny baby at the time. And there were times when, I would be getting him out of the car and there would be a massive explosion going off when they blew up some of the horse guards in the barracks just up the road from where we were living. There was this incredible explosion. It sounded like it was next door, and I was running into the apartment and cuddling my son, and so we were meeting in this area, and everybody was worried about being blown up. And Sir George Trevelyan used this argument, and he said, look, if the people upstairs want you upstairs, they will arrange for you to walk by the pub when it explodes, when a bomb goes off. If they want you to stay down on this plane and work on this physical plane, they'll arrange for you to walk past the pub 10 minutes later. Now, again, for some of us, this is a convincing argument. It's like saying, trust in the Lord, really, isn't it? It's like saying trust in the invisible world if you just transfer planes. But for many of us, that doesn't alleviate the anxiety. But there's no doubt that spiritual beliefs can help us consider and contemplate the death of ourselves and our loved ones, particularly if we believe in an afterlife or in reincarnation. And there's no reason, I think for me, it's really key to understand that I can have two feelings at the same time, which was one of the reasons I asked you to list how you're feeling today. And not everybody is feeling two things at the same time, but some of you did express that you were feeling kind of uneasy, I've forgotten what it was, uneasy and happy or something like that, or calm, uneasy and calm. That it's perfectly possible to be scared and upset about the thought of yourself or your loved ones dying, but also at peace with it. I can be scared and at peace. I can be calm and excited. I can be worried, but okay with this at different levels. I'm kind of big enough. My emotional self, my mind and my consciousness is big enough to hold a number of different feelings, and it's okay. So I guess that would sum up how I'm feeling. I'm feeling actually rather good. The sun's been shining. I'm getting on with a lot of work. It's always interesting doing the work that I do, being engaged in Druidry and working with the order and with the members of the order and so on and so on, and doing this home retreat that I'm organising with weekly meditations and so on. I'm feeling great, but also, of course, I'm feeling angry that I'm trapped, frustrated, anxious, uneasy, missing not hugging my kids, missing not going to the local pub and having a lovely meal with friends, missing not being able to pop into town and have a coffee, worrying about all the people who are really struggling, missing not being able to sit with my mum just close to her and giving her a hug, but also feeling at peace with all of this in a strange way. It's possible to have both feelings. So here's a thought about how we could proceed. And Pat Booker's saying, I could accept my death. I could do with the rest. God, I resonate with that, Pat. I feel that's something. When you're completely feeling wiped out and knackered, you think, actually, I don't mind dying. It would be a huge rest, but not at peace with other people whom I love dying. Absolutely. I guess I can stand the thought of them grieving for me, but selfishly, I do not want to grieve for them. You can always rely on Pat for a lovely little kind of twist to it. Yeah, brilliant. Yes, I agree. So let's experience two feelings tonight. Why not? I see the comments coming up are just fabulous, and I'm going to really enjoy reading these when I'm finished. But let me carry on. What I want to do is, first of all, let's express the part of us that's concerned and worried. Somebody, Zan Jarvis, a view of last week's team, made this great suggestion. He said, "It's a strange time. I live in the US in a small southern college town. The reaction of my fellow townspeople has started in the past few nights. At 8 o'clock each evening, folks go out of their houses, stand in their yards, and howl. It's a wonderfully primitive release of tension, and a chance for the soul to protest the boogeymen our worst fears have conjured. Try it where you are." So, Zan, thank you for that. That's fabulous. In the UK, at 8 o'clock on certain evenings, everybody's been going out and clapping for the NHS, for our wonderful health service. And that's been fabulous. Just going outside and just hearing the cheering and like a sort of collective communal thing. But let's do that now. We're going to howl. I brought my drum up. And let's just, if you can do it, and you're not going to frighten the dogs or your family, I get away from the mic. Let's just howl, just let out all the frustration and tension and worry and anxiety, and then we'll drop into a different thing, a meditation. Okay? I'm doing it with you. It feels better. It feels better because I'm doing it with you. And I hope that wasn't a horrible noise for you with the mic. I don't know how that sounded. It's good. I once rented a house to write a book, and there was a young man who came to stay in the house, and he said to me in the morning when I met him, he said, "Excuse me, please don't be alarmed, but every morning while I'm here, I'm going to scream for a little bit." He was into kind of primal screaming and letting it all out. And every morning, he'd just go into the sitting room and he'd just go, "Ah," and let it all out. It was wonderful. So, my apologies if that was horribly loud over your... Oh, Heather! Oh, yes, right. My bearded collie is loving it. Hooray, hooray, hooray. It was great, said Janey Celeste. Ha ha! Yes. And if you're watching this on a recording or YouTube, you can just choose your time. And if you feel like joining Zan Jarvis in starting a tradition in your town of screaming, maybe you need to tell your townsfolk, otherwise they'll just think you've gone mad. But let's... Linda, anxious, angry, furious at the US government and all those who swallow all their lies. Screaming just scared my cat, but I feel better. Fantastic, that's great. Okay, so now let's flip over and do something else. One of my favourite blogs that I read is by a guy called David. He runs a blog post called Raptitude, and he's just always got such a clear, interesting take on things. And in David's Raptitude blog post, he reminds us of Marcus Aurelius's meditations. and of a particular technique that Marcus Aurelius suggested and the Stoics used for setting our worries in context. And it goes like this, that anxiety and worry is always in a limited frame. As soon as we realize, I'll just read you a little bit of what he says, and I'll give you a link when I've finished. All problems exist within a context that dwarfs them, but often we're too close to see it. And this suffocating feeling is nature's crude way of getting us to do everything we can in relation to the anxiety. When that happens, you can create a bit of air by zooming out and including in your view some of what's happening beyond your worrying, which is almost everything, as it turns out. The ancient Stoics had a reliable way of doing this, using a thought exercise called the view from above. You begin with your current viewpoint, which is where you're sitting now, however consumed by worry you are. Then you imagine looking down on your worried self from the corner of the room. Already there's more in the picture. There's a person fretting over possibilities, but also furniture, houseplants, books, framed photos of family members. Then you pan out farther, looking through the window at your small worried self sitting in one of the building's many rooms. Moving out again, and now we can just let go of the text and just imagine moving out again, looking down from wherever you live from above, just including the surrounding area. Then moving further afield, your whole town or district, and then out your whole country, out the whole, until suddenly it's like the whole planet, this beautiful blue planet. And then out into the stars. We're in the galaxy, and then from the galaxy out into the vast depths of space. We're not avoiding anything here, we're including everything. In our awareness, we're imagining everything, every concern, and the vastness of space, the cosmos, the galaxy, and then the thousands and thousands of galaxies, and millions or however many there are, just out and out into outer space. And then let's come back down now, and let's come back down into the sacred grove. So just come back down from outer space, galaxies, seeing the earth, coming down onto the beautiful earth, and then coming down towards your home. And then just imagine for a while that there's the most beautiful little piece of woodland by your home. You may be lucky enough to actually have this for real, but otherwise just imagine it. And come down to land in this woodland. And just if it feels okay with you, just imagine that you're sitting in this woodland clearing. And this is a beautiful, safe, comfortable place. The earth beneath you, trees around you, and the sky above you. And there's the night sky, the full moon that you howled to earlier, giving you this beautiful white light, moonlight in your grove. And you become aware of the earth beneath you, the good solid earth, providing you with a sense of stability and groundedness. You've landed on the earth now. You might like to even touch the earth with the palms of your hands, feeling the stability of the earth beneath you, sensing all the life in the earth, all the creatures in the earth too, and the moisture and the minerals and stones and soil. And the energy of the earth flows up into your being, bringing with it a sense of real stability and health. And then around you are the trees, and you breathe in the energy of the trees. You can smell the perfume of the trees, those essential oils that the leaves of the trees exude and the bark exudes too. bringing with it a sense of strength and healing. And then breathe in the energy of the sky, so that the energy of the sky and the stars meets the energy of the earth within the center of your being. Your whole life is flowing through you. You feel calm and peaceful and settled. A blessing on all our lives. A blessing on the land. And then from one of the trees, a little leaf just falls from a bough and twirls through the air. Perhaps it's a seed, perhaps it's a leaf. Whatever it is, it just gently whirls down and lands in the palm of your hand. A little gift from the tree for you. You take it in the palm of your hand and you put the palm against your heart, so the gift from the tree is by your heart. And again, a blessing on our lives, a blessing on the land. And you slowly allow your awareness of being in the sacred grove to fade as you become aware of being seated in your room, seated in front of the screen. So, thank you. That was good to be with you. I will put up Peter's thoughts again, and we've covered 2 of the 4 now, and next week I'll cover the next one. And also, if you don't know it, I'm offering a home retreat. The idea that this lockdown that so many of us are having to experience does actually offer us the possibility to have a retreat at home. And I find lying down meditations, yoga nidra meditations, incredibly sustaining and healing. And at times of stress, it's probably the best meditation, I think, certainly for me, I find, where I can just lie down, do absolutely nothing, but just be guided through a very deep meditation. So if you'd like to follow that program, it's called The Garden of Flowing in Perpetual Happiness, and I'll post a link for that there, and you'd be very welcome to join us there. Happens every week, but it's available all through the week, so you don't have to, you can do it at your own pace. So lots of love, many blessings, have a lovely peaceful week, and I'll see you again next week, and I will very much look forward to reading your comments. Okay, bye.